I'd say, well, we're 3:33, folks, and we have enough for a quorum, so I think we'll get started here. If we have any others jump on, we can add them in as they come in. So, Bernie, I'll let you take it away.
Did you turn your this mic on, Bernie?
You should,
Well, then it's not working.
Oh, that one. Now we got different switches. Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about those switches at all.
Oh, these are the public ones. Yeah. Okay. Okay, everybody hear me okay now? Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to call to order the July 2022 meeting of the City of Eureka's Transportation Safety Commission. And the first thing I'll call for is the calling of the roll.
Sure. Let's see. Commissioner Mueller? That Mark, that was for you.
He's muted.
Oh, okay. We can't hear you.
You're muted, Mark.
Okay. Commissioner Haroldson?
Present.
Commissioner Chafin Brooks?
I'm here.
Thanks, Mark. Commissioner Gilmore? And Commissioner Griffith?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. First order of business, as normal, is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting, which were included in your packet that you received. They look okay to me. I don't know if anybody else has any comments, but if not, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes from the May 10th meeting.
Okay. I will second that. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes of the last meeting signify by saying aye or maybe raising your hand since we're on video. I don't know. I guess you can't see me.
Yeah.
Aye
Aye.
works better.
We can hear 'em.
I guess you can't see me anyway, so.
But we can hear you, and it is recording.
Yeah, okay. So, moving on, then we come to the public comment portion of the meeting, which is a time for people to address the commission on items that are not on the agenda. If there's a comment about an item on the agenda, then we'd wait, prefer you wait until that time comes. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment for up to 3 minutes during this public comment section?
so there's at least one via Zoom and nothing in person. So with that, I'll go ahead and we have, if you want to start the timer, we have Colin Fisk here. Colin, you can go ahead.
Thanks. I just had a couple of housekeeping items. I wanted to note that the Zoom link in the agenda didn't work, and I had to log in directly with the meeting ID just in case anyone else is having trouble getting here. And also, for some reason, I've stopped receiving the agendas for this committee, and I was hoping, or commission, and I was hoping to be added back to that list. That's it. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Noted, I think.
Yep.
And there was nobody else phoning in or
No other via
zooming
Zoom.
in or whatever. Of course, I don't know if they can zoom in if the link wasn't.
Well, there's a couple different ways to get to it, so it sounds like the main link was not working.
Okay. Then moving on to our agenda, we have nothing scheduled here under old business, and just 2 items for new business. Item number 1 is the request for 2 commission members to be part of stakeholder conversations for the Waterfront Eureka plan. In your packet, you will see a letter. It was addressed to me, but I just saw it when it came out in the packet here, requesting that City of Eureka Development Services Planning would like to invite 2 representatives from the Transportation Safety Commission to participate in a stakeholder conversation for the Waterfront Eureka plan. This plan will guide and regulate land uses, design, circulation, and infrastructure in the waterfront plan area, which you'll see if you have the map there in your packet. 2 representatives from your commission will join other representatives from various city committees and commissions for this stakeholder conversation. And then I'll just read one more paragraph here that this focused small group stakeholder conversation, I don't know how small it is, that's what she says here, will be hybrid with an in-person and a virtual option, just like these meetings are. Your representative's expertise and professional or slash personal experience with Eureka Central Waterfront will help inform the standards and successful implementation of this plan. So there's a call for 2 representatives. I don't know that they're targeting anybody with some specific waterfront expertise, but I guess they're claiming we have some. We deal, of course, with transportation issues.
Yeah, I think they just want to be able to have the voice of transportation safety in there as well. So I don't think it's a particular target for a particular person. So I think, we have a pretty small group here today. We've got 3. So I would say you can start with volunteers or we can nominate. So I'd leave it up to the chair to decide. But I think that's probably the avenue I would start.
Okay. You all heard what Scott said. So any interest in this from any particular members that would like to participate in this? I don't know really what all is going to be involved. They just mentioned, I didn't go deeper in the letter, but basically they're going to have a meeting in mid-August. There's no date there. And then once we select, assuming we have 2 people that agree to do this, then those persons would be sent a link to fill out some poll, a doodle poll. I guess that's just to indicate your availability.
That's why they were waiting.
I would be happy. I've been watching that process anyway and attending meetings, and I would be happy to be involved in this particular process.
Okay. I guess that leaves, as far as members attending, Mark and myself. I would be willing. I don't have a sense like I should be the one or something. I'm just saying. I see Mark's hand. Go ahead and speak, Mark.
Yeah, I'd be up for that too.
Okay. Well, it really doesn't matter to me.
No, I would just say, you guys can decide, and then we just ask you to report back at our next meeting and just kind of fill in everybody. I think it'll be a stakeholder meeting. Well, they'll kind of present some different ideas, try to get input from folks from this avenue. So I think whatever you guys want to do is fine, and just let me know, and we'll.
Yeah, we're supposed to communicate. I don't know if I should or maybe Scott will.
I think you guys should decide now,
Right.
and then what I'll do is I'll send out an email to loop you got the 2 chosen in with the group.
And then you're supposed to contact the planning commission here.
Yep.
To tell them who is going to be attending. So if you 2 want to do that, the only other person to comment would be me, and I'm fine with that. So why don't we consider that?
Okay, so
Do we have a motion?
yeah,
Okay, don't need a motion, so it's agreed. Caroline and Mark will be sent information on this meeting, and hopefully, we don't know the exact date. You're both going to be around. You got any vacations planned around the middle of August? We're going to take you out of town for a couple of weeks.
I think I'm good for middle August. Later August, I may have something going on.
Yeah, that's what I wasn't sure of either. But
Middle August works for me.
okay.
There's a doodle poll on the bottom of the letter, correct?
They're
I don't
going
know
to
if the
do
poll
one once
is
they
in
get
the
everybody.
letter. Let's
Yeah,
see
they,
here.
they were waiting to schedule the meeting until they know who all's going to be there. So
Yeah.
Makes sense.
as soon as they finish
Well,
getting,
I think what they're waiting for is for either myself or Scott. He's volunteered to contact.
they've
this,
gotten people from almost every meeting I've been at lately. So they're trying to wait until they have all of the people from all of the different committees
Okay, yeah.
and commissions,
So are
and
you
then they
supposed
will
to
schedule with
contact
those.
Caitlin then?
Yeah, so I'll reach out and CC both Mark and Caroline, and that way get them all looped in together. So I'll do that this afternoon.
Okay. So then the second item of new business is another request to discuss a complete streets policy recommendation to City Council. I wasn't sure what that was, so I contacted Mark because I thought, well, maybe there's supposed to be a what is the complete streets policy as is their proposal, and she said this is something Caroline brought up. So why don't you speak about that?
Sure. And the city of Arcata recently adopted one, and it kind of went through their transportation safety committee, and then they recommended to city council. And so it really is just kind of formalizing what seems to already be happening in the city of Eureka, which is really when road projects happen, prioritizing all modes of transportation on them, not just car travel. So when repaving happens, making sure that there is consideration given to cycling and walking and all other modes of transportation as well, and to really like put that into policy. So moving forward, that's something that happens regularly. And there have been, I know like in our last meeting when Jeff from Caltrans came to talk, he was talking about finishing up the Complete Streets project in the South Broadway Complete Streets. So it's something that's kind of happening piecemeal, and putting forward a policy and bringing it to City Council to see if they would like to adopt it would just really formalize that. And I do have, I know this is not helpful to you, Bernie, because you're not on Zoom. I could share a link with the Arcata policy just so you kind of get an idea of what they did. And we could either, discuss something similar to that, come up with something that's more specific to Eureka, and then bring that to the City Council. I mean, obviously they would then ultimately make the decision and could shift things around as well. But I also thought it would just be cool. There's always that spot at the beginning of City Council meetings for presentations from boards and commissions. And I watch a lot of City Council meetings, and I've never seen a presentation from a board or commission. So this could be something to put together and bring to the City Council.
So how do you envision this happening? That we would have a subcommittee to look at this policy and then bring it before the commission to see if we want to make recommendations to the city?
That would be staff's recommendation. Typically with these would be start a subcommittee and then work with staff to create a policy that has staff input as well as commission input, and then bring that to the TSC with approval, get the TSC on board, and then forward that to council. So that would be my recommendation, that we start a committee, and there's a bunch of good examples out there that we could work in conjunction with. So that would be my recommendation to start.
Okay, so then this subcommittee would maybe draft some proposals to be discussed at this meeting for a wider commission.
Correct.
Input.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay. Well, you brought this up, so I'm guessing this is a thing you're interested in being on. Would that be correct?
That is correct. That is a correct assumption, Bernie. Yes,
Yeah.
I would happily help.
The thing is, I wish we had more members attending. Like
I know it's tough.
Agreed.
It's gonna be
Pat
the same.
Gilmore, he's got a background in transportation, commercial transportation, and
Well, and I think that can kind of be, a benefit of this. It has to take a little while, right? We only meet every other month, and so we'd have to come back to, the soonest we could even talk about it as a commission would be 2 months from now. Mm-hmm. And maybe that is a way to get Patrick involved too, because I think it would be good to have his input.
Maybe I can contact him and discuss the idea, and then we can, before the next, not wait until 2 months, but hopefully get a subcommittee together that can be working on it perhaps before.
Yeah, so there are a couple different ways. I think the item on there is do we want to work on a policy? And so I think it sounds like the answer this group would want to say yes, they want to create a policy. And the second would be to start a subcommittee. And maybe if we want to try to get, if that's the desire, maybe it's one person here and then one person that's not here today, that's fine. But you can still keep it moving, kind of get something moving, or unless two people here today want to be part of that. So I think that would probably be the direction to go.
Okay. Why don't we talk about it? Maybe rather than take up the time of the meeting here, kick around some ideas or something. I'd be willing if he didn't want to do it, I'd be willing to be involved in that. Unless, Mark, do you have some thoughts on this? want to?
Sure, I think I could add some to this. I think it might be worthwhile to look. Caltrans has been doing a lot with complete streets, so it might be kind of an easy thing to just look at what they've got and take what works for the city, basically. You know.
Okay.
And then Colin Fisk also has his hand raised right now.
So yeah, well, let's get there when we get to public comment. But I think there should be, the group should decide. Yeah, we would like to create a subcommittee to move forward on this. So I think that would be, some sort of recommendation along that line, and then nominate at least one member today, and then we could still reach out to Patrick to see if he's interested, and if he's not, he's in communication, so we can get a hold of him. If not, I can reach back out to the group for a second member, and then we can kind of set up a subcommittee meeting. The next, maybe in end of July or beginning of August, mid-August, something like that. That way we could have something moving by the time our next meeting is.
Okay. Why don't we do that?
Well, I feel like I've been hogging up a lot of subcommittee space lately, and I would definitely like to make sure that Patrick has an opportunity to participate if he wants to. So I do like that idea of asking around, and I will happily take up space on that subcommittee if it's not taking up too much space.
Okay, so then it could be let's start a subcommittee, and then I can reach out via email to the members and see if we can get, that way we can, because they're not here today, get their input on it, and we can do that pretty quickly and try to get some subcommittee members that way. Does that sound like the way to go?
Yeah, I think so.
That way we get the fair option out there. Okay.
Sure. So I'm getting 2 thumbs up here. So
okay. So yeah, I'd at this point maybe public comment, and then maybe say we approve that.
Is there public comment?
Yeah, there. It looks like we have Colin here with his hand raised.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me on this public comment.
Sorry, I forgot you can't see that part.
I look out.
Yeah,
I look out here and Okay, go ahead. Why don't you open that up?
Go ahead, Colin.
Thanks. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So, I wanted to just thank the commission for taking this on. I think, as Caroline mentioned, the city is already doing a lot of good work in terms of providing better facilities on the streets for people walking and biking and rolling and using transit and so forth. The reason that I think policies like this are so important is they kind of flip the script a little bit from the traditional method of when you're doing any kind of project, whether it's just a repaving all the way up to like a major, reconstruction or construction project, that typically, you design the street for the cars, and then, maybe you see if there's enough funding or, some other compelling purpose for adding other facilities. And the Complete Streets policy kind of flips that and says, you design it for everybody, and you only can kind of remove a mode if there's a compelling reason to do that. And I think that that's an important step for just the way that we think about designing our streets for all users, and particularly for the safety of the most vulnerable users. I also wanted to add that, the City of Arcata, as Caroline mentioned, did recently adopt a policy that was based on a model policy that the Redwood Coalition for Climate and Environmental Responsibility provided, which was in turn based on other model policies. And the City of Arcata also did a fair amount of research during their adoption process in looking at other cities that have adopted these, as well as I think the Caltrans policy. So you might save yourself some work by consulting with the City of Arcata on what they did. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's it? Okay. No further community comment?
Nope.
Okay, then why don't we move on to item 5, reports and communications and staff project updates.
Okay, so I usually put a little section together to kind of keep everybody updated on projects we're working on. We've been pretty buried on some construction. You guys have probably seen construction out on the roads these days, so I don't have too much of an update today, but a few things that we're working on right now. We have some construction projects in the works. You've seen we're doing some paving out there on a number of streets. We have M Street coming up for construction in the next month or so, which will have some bike boulevard. Will be a bike boulevard signage and striping, one of our first bike boulevards in the city. So that's exciting. That'll be probably another month or so from now. We're doing a bunch of underground work and such. The city was I don't recall if we talked about this at the last meeting, but the city was approved by Caltrans for the bike plan. I can't remember if I did say that or not last time. So we have been awarded that. So that project, we've done kind of our background paperwork, and that project is in the nexus of Caltrans, and so I think we will be able to start working on that at the end of this year. So come November, we'll have our authorization to proceed on that one. So that one's exciting. We're coming up on looking at safety grants. At the end of the summer, we'll be applying for safety grants for the city. Those safety grants come up every couple of years through Caltrans and have funded projects such as our the H&I project, the multimodal project, some bulb out projects. So right now we're evaluating, looking at collision reports and intersection locations that are, like we've talked about in our collision histories here, to see where we can try to find some dollars and make some improvements. So those are always exciting grants to work on, and you hope we've been pretty successful in the past getting funded on those. So those are exciting. So we're in design currently for the H&I project, the bike lane project, removing a travel lane. That project will go to construction next summer. So we're in design summer and fall and into the winter. So, but yeah, right now our main focus is working on some construction projects out there and some of those things. So that's about all I have today. Pretty brief update. So yeah.
Are there any main, like last summer was Henderson Street, I know it was, and then of course all the bulb outs in Henderson Center, and those were occurring just about a year ago at this time. Are there any major, just so I can be aware when I'm driving around town?
Yeah, so we have we've partway through our paving project, and so we've gotten some large streets. We've repaved Union Street, Glen Street over towards the Winco area. Those were in long time need of repair, so those were repaved recently. Over by the zoo, we finished up W and Dolbeer Streets.
Noticed that.
Those were exciting. Good to get those done. Lots of pedestrians in those areas. We're working
one day. I think they only had that closed.
Yeah, we a little longer than that, but we put a big force on it to have a minimal impact. Currently, we're working down in the old, kind of what we call the older part of town, so along First and Second Street down by Target. So we have some streets that have been in pretty rough repair for a long period of time. So we'll be down in that area for a couple of weeks likely. And then after that, we'll be up on M Street, the bike boulevard, repaving that one, putting a bike boulevard in. And that's the vast majority of our paving projects. We've got some underground projects that include paving as well. We're working on M Street. We're working on Vista Drive. We're working on West Avenue, 13th Street. So a lot of construction projects out there, and a lot of upcoming in design. So it's exciting it's can be an inconvenience for all the drivers out there, but when these things are done, they're really nice improvements.
So a bike boulevard, how wide would that be if you were, say, doing an overlay over a bike lane?
So a bike boulevard is on a street where you don't have enough road width to have a separated bike lane. You would have a bike boulevard, which is typically a lower volume street, lower traffic volume street, and you add traits to help slow traffic down and encourage the bikes. So we'll be having markings for the bikes out there. We'll be having some new bulb outs out there to slow down traffic at a few of the streets. There'll be a new stop sign along the way. So it's ways to improve a lower volume street to encourage and promote it for bicycles.
The striping, maybe those chevron signs.
Exactly. So that's kind of, the big logistics in the city is we're, for the most part, a built-out city, so we have less right-of-way in some areas. Some areas we have wider right-of-ways, and we have some ability to work on. We're like 8th Street, for example, has some more right-of-way, so we're adding a bike lane on that one as well as the main portion of the road next year. So, but the bike boulevard is a way to create a street and kind of re-envision it for bikes when it doesn't necessarily have the full width.
Varying widths, it sounds. I mean, you didn't give a set number. Like
Oh no,
10
so there
feet.
is no. So it mixes with vehicles. So it's the road. That road width is only 36 or 38 feet wide, so it's not very wide. So you'll still have parking on both sides, and then you'll have the vehicle traffic lanes, and the bikes will be able to share the lane with vehicles. So
Yeah.
so a little different than H&I,
Which
but
will be marked. So,
correct. It'll
yeah.
be marked and signed exactly.
Okay. I remember our last meeting, we had an update. I forget the man's name. It's probably in my minutes here. But the Caltrans projects, and they were talking about those, I forget what they called them. They were basically a type of median. Different projects. It was quite a bit of projects there on Broadway.
Yeah.
Didn't he indicate that they thought there would be a start time about now on those? Was it in July? Maybe
I don't
March.
recall. I have to look back. I know Caltrans recently completed the pedestrian signal, the Hawk signal, which is like a half signal over by Broadway Cinema for pedestrians, a pedestrian signal there. And so I'm not sure the status of the rest of those projects. But I know there's a number of them that are close.
Do you have any
to
insight
construction.
on that, Mark, or is that a whole different section?
Yeah, they're doing a pop-up, which is a temporary arrangement, and that's going to be, I believe, from Wabash to Hawthorne, if I recall correctly. So it'll have bike lanes, with, I think they'll be using delineators and things like that they can take away when it's done. And so they want to see how that works out over there.
Do you know if that's still scheduled for this summer?
Last I heard it was, yeah.
Yeah, somehow
It's in. I want to
thought
say the
he said
second weekend of
July.
August.
Caroline looks like
And
she
it's
has
changed a few times because they've had a hard time getting the materials, is my understanding, because they're doing some temporary protected bike lanes. So like testing out different, whether it's like, and I don't know the technical terms, you probably know them, Mark, but like the various ways that you can separate bikes from cars. So kind of like pylon type of things, different barriers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, they call those
And
delineators.
they do have a website, BroadwayPopups.com. Maybe it was something really simple like that, where you could keep track of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that conclude your update, Scott?
Correct.
I have a
Yep.
couple of questions.
Sure.
One is for the Bike Boulevard on M Street, since it's going to be the first one in the city of Eureka. Is there going to be any sort of celebration?
We don't have anything planned yet, but it would be great to do a press release when we're ready. So I think that's a great idea, and we can definitely do something like that.
Like make a big deal about it.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
Also, like that's pretty cool, and and I know this is not the city of Eureka, that is Caltrans, but that flashing beacon on Broadway is like the first one in the county, maybe, or something like that. Like it's.
Yeah, they're not very common. The nearest one is up in Crescent City, so that was a project that Caltrans was able to turn around fairly quickly, which is a challenge for as big as they are. So we were excited to see that one. The city been a big part of seeing that come to fruition too. So that's a great improvement.
We can't quite see it, Mark. Is that about it? About the
Oh, I know. I've got the fuzz thing.
Yeah.
I forgot. I thought it'd be the easy way to. Here we go. It's like pretty much what you said, Caroline.
Okay. Yeah, Broadway pop-up demonstrations.
Yeah.
BroadwayPopup.com. Cool.
Yeah, I think if you just punch in BroadwayPopup.com, it takes you right there. The way they synced it.
My other question is about the closing of the lane on 6th and 7th Street. That kind of pop-up that was done. And I'm just curious what sort of like data or feedback you got from that.
That's a good one, and I'm going to add that as a future agenda items because I think that's a good one to talk about because there's a couple in there that might be a pop-up. So 6th and 7th Street we did something very similar to what Caltrans is doing, and we'd had a number of complaints on 6th and 7th Streets over the years primarily about speeding and noise and some of those things. So we thought it would be a good thing to do a temporary demonstration where you remove a lane and see how traffic functions for a week. And so what we did was did a lot of before study as far as traffic speeds, traffic volumes, and then we did a press release and we closed those down to one lane for a week, and then we did a bunch of studies during. So we did traffic counts, traffic speeds. We did some visual surveys, some watching the congestion, the choke points to see how they worked. And then we tried to do a social media plug where we reached out to people and we published a survey and tried to get, from folks who drove through it to give us their opinion, what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it. So we got all that data and we're still processing it. We haven't had a chance to really go through and iron it out, but I just put it on my list as a future agenda item because once we get that, I want to both publish it on the website, but we should talk about it here and just kind of go through of this is what we saw before and this is what the change was. And it's a nice way to look at something and say, hey, here's an idea. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't work, but let's try it out there and let's see what happens. And we have another one that we can talk about in future agenda items that we're looking at doing something similar as well. So maybe when we get to that, I'll talk about that as well.
So you're going to bring that up in the future, the results of how long was that? I just thought there was construction. I noticed it on 6. I don't know if I noticed it on 7.
Yeah, we did it on both streets
It was just a week. Huh?
It was 7 days from L to West Avenue. Excuse me, L to Myrtle. So that 6 or 7 blocks, whatever it is.
Yeah, I probably was only on that maybe once, that section of 6, because I'd only be coming off of West, I guess, if I was. Okay. So that's the end to conclude your staff updates. Then do you want to talk about these future agenda items you've got here?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, some of these are just been there for a little while, but the EV charging, there'll be more and more of those as we move forward. So I want to keep that on there because we'll have sites to evaluate and make some recommendations on whether it be parking lots or in public areas. But those are definitely coming down the pipe for the better. So that's good. City of Eureka bike plan, I'm going to leave that on there because once we get that going here in the fall, we'll have a couple committee members. We'll have focus group and some other things, and we'll have some. This group will be part of that. So I know Caroline sent me TSAP updates, so I need to work on those. That one's in my court a little bit, so I'll get something going on that and reach back out. And then the Dolbeer W couplet study, that's something we're looking at as well as similar to the 6th and 7th Street. So we were trying to look at, again, what kind of improvements can we provide out there for W and Dolbeer because, A, we have a lot of pedestrians that are using it for both the school, for the zoo, for the parks, the fields. And so is there a way to improve both the operations out there for all uses, right? So are we able to create a bicycle facility, improve pedestrian facilities, improve the drop-off for the school? And so a couple of the different things we're looking at is to make those potentially one-way, which would give you some more space in the roadway to be able to have some, whether it be a bike facility, some additional pedestrian facilities, improve the drop-off for the school. So we have some conceptual designs that we're kind of working through on our side. And we just recently repaved it, as we talked about, and we haven't put the striping down. So what we're looking at doing is doing a kind of a temporary demonstration here in hopefully the next few weeks, and that way we can kind of track it and see how it works and how it looks in person and see if that's something we want to do. So that's something, as we get a little closer, we'd like to talk about what those concepts could be and then try to model it. So that's just a floating one out there. And then again, 6th and 7th Street one, we'll bring some data back and that way we can kind of evaluate and see if it makes sense to include it as part of a project in the future.
I have a comment on a couple of those.
Okay.
If I could. As far as the future EV charging site locations, at present we've got the one by the Bayshore Mall. And where is there's another one.
So the city has, the city's working on one right now in City Hall. There is one at Jack's Seafood. There's a public parking lot there. There's one there. I'm trying to think if there's another one the city has. I think that's it currently.
Well, my main question was, are we monitoring the growth of use of those?
Yeah, and
the use is growing as there are more electric cars.
Absolutely, yeah. That use is growing, and it's going to change as far as how people are charging and where they're charging. The amount of vehicles that we've seen that are electric in the last 5 years has been exponential growth. and the dollars are going to be there from the state of California to go more electric vehicles, and that infrastructure is a big part of it. So those we want to stay ahead of it. Those projects are coming, and there's a lot more private EV charging sites than there are public ones right now. For us, we have that ability in public parking lots, if we have power to them, to be able to have charging facilities of some sort. And so as we move forward, there's going to be plans to be able to add more of these on the public space. And so we want to make sure that we're thinking about that, and we kind of go through the public at the same time. So I see that as probably being the biggest change that we'll see in the next few years is the influx of electric vehicles in the state of California, and then the charging infrastructure that has to go behind it. So it's something that's coming, and we want to just be thinking about it and be ready for it.
The increasing the charging stations is kind of like the tip of the iceberg, because then as people put in charging stations at home, what about the power lines delivering power to the neighborhoods? You're going to have voltage demand increases. Then you're going to need power plants. I can't wait for the first proposed nuclear power plant in California. That'll be interesting.
Maybe it'll be the wind turbines they're putting offshore. There'll be some other issues too, but that's definitely coming.
Solar panels I'm putting on my house.
Yeah, that'll charge your car. And then one was just a quick thought, and then the commissioners, if they have any comments on these things. Just one on the last one, the Dolby or W. I envision what you were saying about making them one way, and I would envision that W Street would be going south towards Cutton, and perhaps Dolbeer, because they're right turns.
That's the natural inclination. That's
natural inclination. However, as soon as I was visualizing that, I was visualizing making a left turn. You can't really go on Hodgson from Dolbeer. I guess you could go on Chester and do that. The folks on Chester won't be too excited about that, but I'm picturing trying to make a left turn at the intersection of Dolbeer and Harris Street.
No, so Chester would stay as a two-way.
I'm thinking about if you were to you go out to you want to go out to Harris and make a left.
Yeah, you still could. We wouldn't. We're still evaluating it, but what we're looking at is we probably would try to avoid directing traffic through Harris Street at Dolbeer. So we would still allow that, depending on the options, but you would keep Chester open. Yeah. And that way, north of Chester, it would still stay the way it is. That way, Chester, people can get off Hodgson. So that movement would stay the same. So any of these things that you look at, those are the same conversations we have. Is
it's all trade-offs.
Trade-offs. And that's the thing I try to tell folks is we're in a world now we have to have trade-offs, and there's pluses and minuses. And any project we can do is going to have pluses and minuses. And when you're plowing a big empty field and you can build everything you want, that's great. That's super easy. Those days are long gone for us. So anything we do...
1950s.
Yeah, exactly. Those days are over. So for us, anything we do is going to have a plus and minus, and we just have to understand that. And so doing these things, and that's kind of where we're at now, is trying to put the traffic volumes on paper and understand what happens, how do you move traffic, what are vehicles doing, what are pedestrians and bikes doing. So trying to understand how it all looks and try to look at all those little issues and problems and think about them. But those are the same conversations we have is, okay, what are vehicles going to do here? How's this going to work? How's it going to impact the school? And at the end of the day, you do your best and try to come up with the best solution. Then you try to model and be like, okay, is it working how I thought it would? So those are conversations we've had, and there's benefits on both sides. It's not real clear cut, but it seems more intuitive to have the operation like it is now, where W is south and Dolbeer is north. Yeah. But there's pluses and minuses to both, I would say.
Yeah. Any comments? We're at the end of the agenda, but any commissioners have a comment on the most recent discussions here? There's no decisions to be made because they're just future items. Okay. Well, if that being the case, I think we've completed our business.
Colin Fisk has his hand up again. I'm not sure if it's in order to...
yeah, I've got such a small screen here, I can't.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Can you patch him in?
Do we have public comment at the end?
I don't know if we have public comment.
We don't have public comment at the end.
Yeah, we don't have that for this portion of the meeting. Okay, well, seeing that we've concluded our agenda for today, and our next scheduled meetings, I don't have the date, but it would be the second Tuesday of September 13th. Okay, well, thanks all for participating, and We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Take care.
I'll reach out.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, if Colin has a comment, he can reach out. I try to keep it somewhat formal to the